So for assignment number 2, I decided to join the group that was looking at using social media in the classroom. And before I get into everything else, I think this was a really invaluable assignment for me, because this is something that I've been interested in looking into further. But again, near the end of the school year, they're always trying to get stuff done, SLOs, get everything finalized for the end of the year. It never really seems like I have time to do much outside of school with looking into new and different ways to provide the best classroom possible for my students. So this assignment really forced me to dig into that, and I think I really benefited from it. So some of the things the learning that I took away from this assignment and looking at all the resources that I found is that there's no cut and paste way to use social media as an assessment tool in the classroom. There's ideas how, look something up, try to find it searching on social media. But there's nothing really concrete that says this is the way to use social media as an assessment tool rather than a research tool or just something fun. There's a lot of different ideas out there. So for me, it was more kind of looking at all those ideas and then piecing them together in a way in which that I could use social media to assess my students. But again, it kind of took a lot of 3 or 4 or 5 different ideas to try to put something together in which the way you use it. Also with that is whatever you need help with, there's resources on the internet. I was shocked at how many different resources there were about using social media as an assessment tool. There were tons out there that I never would have expected. So before you get frustrated with anything else, look on the internet for blogs, anything like that, and you're going to get some good ideas that then you could kind of tweak and tinker with to make it your own. And the last thing I really found out is that through all this research is that social media wasn't really designed, even with educators, it wasn't really designed to be used as an assessment tool, but it can become one with some creativity. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. So my two biggest takeaways that I had from this is that trial and error is going to be your best friend when trying to implement something new, and in this case, using social media as an assessment. You can't be afraid to fail. Since we started working on this project, I've tried 3 different ways to use social media as an assessment tool, and at least 2 of them failed pretty epically. One, I think I can tinker with and make it work. Okay, but I wasn't really scared to try it, which is big. So one of the things that I tried to do using social media is having them set up their own blog as a way to look at their learning and takeaways while we're reading The Outsiders in class. I kind of gave them a little bit more free rein, and that did not go so well. A lot of them just kind of gave a brief summary of the chapter, nothing really takeaway, it wasn't really that structured, didn't work so well. One of the ways that I did find kind of worked is using Twitter. I had the students choose whichever character they identified with the most out of the story, and using a special hashtag and making private accounts and all those things, they actually on real Twitter tweeted out things that the characters are going through in the chapter. So that way I knew after they're done reading, I could check that hashtag, and I made it unique so there didn't get jumbled up with everything else. And they had to have 2 or 3 tweets per chapter, but that way I could know that they were understanding what's going on in the book. They would tweet as the character about something that happened, and that way it was an assessment because I knew that they were understanding what I was having them look for while reading. And then the second takeaway that I have is that student input is invaluable when you're trying to use social media. However much you use social media, the students probably know more about it than you do. So going to a student or asking your class about what's popular, what's new, what's different is going to help you out trying to know they're going to know best and the best way to use social media. And again, you have to take everything with a grain of salt because in my case, they're 8th graders and they want to do the least amount of work possible. But they can at least give you a starting point about what to look for, how to use things, how they use things in their life. And that way you can then start moving into how to change that and use it in the classroom.